Am I live? Let me check the sound. Am I live? Am I live? Double check. Looks like I am. Let me get the stuff set up. I think I'm live. Drop any questions in the chat. Testing, testing. Drop any questions in the chat. Testing. Drop any questions in the chat. Okay, I think it's working. Okay, let's see. Just need to be turned up a little bit. Volume good. All right, let's start checking out some results from this last week. And make sure everything's working in the studio. I think it is. But we got a good game coming up today with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and we got them playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, where we're still out Rashee Rice for another week, even after this. And we'll see what Brian Thomas Jr. can do on the other side of the ball. But before I get into analysis of this game, let's make sure we got at least some of these player cards up. All right, we got Trevor Lawrence. This working? All right, that's working. Okay. That is good. Drop any questions in the chat you got. Okay. Any questions in the chat while I pull these rankings up and we start talking some football? Who's excited for the game? Who's going to win? Who is going to win tonight? Who is going to win? I would not have thought the Bills would have lost, but this is fantasy football. This is the NFL. Anything could happen. Peter, I see you. How are you? Hope you're having a great day. Let's see. Any trade ideas? 1 quarterback league, 2 flex, PPR, 4 tight end, half point PPR for the rest. Okay, so tight end premium league. Bucky Irving, Ken Walker, Chase Brown, DeAndre Swift, Woody Marks, Kendre Miller, Ibuka, Rashee Rice, Tedero McMillan, Wandale Golden. Tight ends are Waller and Mark Andrews. Okay. Let's see. I guess, are you winning? Like, what's your record? You 2-2, 4-0, and how's this week look? What are you thinking in terms of trade ideas? So while if you can hear me and while you kind of type that, I'll start getting some initial thoughts out. Your team seems decently solid at wide receiver. Right now, it kind of looks like, you're thin at running back, maybe with Bucky injured, and maybe Woody Marks didn't come up to your expectation. I think Kendrick Miller's a good stash, but right now you're rolling out Ibuka, and you're going to be looking forward to Rice, but you're probably rolling out Ibuka and Tet. So Peter, what are you looking for uh on that trade? Because I think, right now you're hold on. Let me get this spam out this chat. Let me get this spam out this chat. Bye bye spam. Bye bye spam. All right, so I think you're with Bucky injured right now. It looks like your value is Ibuka, but that's kind of like the heart of your team right now with Bucky injured. So curious to hear what you're trying to do. Like, is it because you got two flexes and you're always rotating flex and you don't have like reliable starters? So that would be my guess there. You're 1-4, bad luck with the most points scored against you in the league by far. Oh, it's one of those years. It's one of those years. Those years are so tough when you have a good team, and you just get unlucky draw. I think Darren Waller's a very good flex rest of season. I really foresee him always being an end zone threat, especially with Tyreek out. I think they're basically going to need to use him to balance the floor between, their other players of Etienne and Waddle. So I think he's a great balance that he's looking like he's, catching his targets and doesn't look super slow. So I think, he's good for your tight end premium. But, your team's not bad, I would say. When Rashee Rice comes back, that'll be pretty good. Ryan, I'll get to you in a sec, but I think Worthy over Pacheco, but let me ask PPR standard. Looks like you only need 2 points. But let me know the dynamics of that. It's PPR. But yeah, Peter. So I think your the value that you have is in that big name, especially without Bucky. I don't think anybody's going to want to take Bucky, but you've held Rashee Rice for this long, so you already sacrificed like the 5-week hold, so you might as well hold, right? I mean, you've already held them this long. I don't know if anybody else might have value unless they really need a running back, and you can trade one of those mid-tier guys like Ken Walker or Swift. I don't know if Chase has any value. Chase Brown on the name, but that would be kind of my thoughts. Where I like to give some advice on trades is go target somebody who has a need for what you have excess of, right? And see what they'd be willing to give, right? If they're constantly sitting, that running back that you want to slot in, or whatever it may be. So it looks like you can make moves on either the running back or the receiver side, but your biggest value that jumps out to me, right? Like if I were sitting on the other side of the table, is Ibuka. But let me know if that helps or not, Peter, and let me know if you have any targets in mind for your league. Jump into Ryan now. So you got 2 points. Do you start Worthy? Do you start Worthy or Pacheco? Is Worthy was healthy, right? He was marked healthy. I know there was some scare on that for this game, but I'm not sure if he was healthy. Of course, Peter, if you could drop a like or anything like that, that'd be really appreciated. But good luck. Good luck. And Ryan, so I don't like Pacheco. He popped up with an ankle injury. Yeah, I didn't check my news because I I was out all day, but I saw something about uh it says he's active. It says he's active. Um but if you only have uh you don't want him to run a route and get hurt. Yeah. Uh I mean technically that's true for any player though, right? I know there's a bigger risk if they're already injured, but it sounds like what you are looking at and what you're basically asking me is because you only have 2 points, do I feel that Pacheco will get those 2 points because you're worried about Xavier Worthy basically just being a decoy or something like that today? So even though I don't like Pacheco, um, like I actually really don't like Pacheco, but it's kind of hard not to get 2 points as a running back. But his touches have been so shisty, um, that 2 points might be a lot. Let's see, because he's what maxed out at 45 yards. He's hit 20 yards in every single game. I don't think it doesn't says he hasn't fumbled yet. So I'm pretty sure Pacheco will get 2 yards, but or not 2 yards, 2 points. So if you're feeling he's safe because Xavier Worthy, you're worried about not being able to get on the field or just being a decoy, um, would be a thing. So I totally understand if you want to play Pacheco. I would play Worthy, but this injury, I have not been following this injury, so I'm kind of talking by only seeing a headline of saying that he's healthy. I didn't see anything about like, if this injury was nagging him all week or where it's at. Um, so if that's that, then I don't see a problem with your thought process. I don't think Pacheco. I think it's going to be nerve wracking, right? Um, so uh, last week I said they were going to use Xavier Worthy as a decoy, and they used him in full strength. I just haven't been following it, but yeah, hopefully that helped you, Ryan. Appreciate you as well. If you could drop a like, much appreciated. Gonna roll with Worthy. All right, bro. 100 on that. I'll be rooting for you on that first drive to make sure that he gets that catch. But let me know if there's anything else, if I could help in any other way, Ryan. But I appreciate you. All right, moving on to Che. You're in a pickle. You placed Xavier Worthy last night in a panic. I'm down 20 full PPR. And now I have the choice to start Worthy or Etienne in the flex. What do you do? Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good question. Full PPR, 20 points. Man. Okay. 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 I think I would go with Etienne because I do believe if I pull up his stats, he has hit 20 points in multiple weeks, and I think if Worthy hit it, he barely hit it in this last week, right? Um, and so I kind of would roll with, I mean, Travis Etienne, he's kind of on fire right now, right? And it doesn't look like the offense has been moving away from him. So, uh, with what I was just speaking on with this other guy Ryan here, uh, you know, Xavier Worthy is last week they said he was coming off an injury. I told people I was like, I don't know if they're going to use him as a decoy or not. They used him at full usage, but he popped back up last minute on this injury report. So maybe don't believe me when I say check that the injury scares me a little bit. Um, but like if we look back, let me pull up where is ETN? So uh you're in a full PPR, right? So ETN is where? ETN. He is, hold on, sorry. He is Why can't I? Why isn't he coming up on my stats right now? Oh, here he is. All right, so he had 18.6, 16.9, 11.6, 19.5. This is all PPR. Oh man. I see why that one's tough. And then if I look at Xavier Worthy, um, Worthy had 17.1. Um, yeah, I would roll with Etienne. I would roll with Etienne just based off of the injuries scare of Worthy, um, and everything. Uh, I would roll with Etienne. Hopefully that helps, Shay. Let me know if not, just let me know if that helps your thoughts or not. Let me before I go on to the next one, let me just double check what Ryan said. It's full PPR. Yeah. So go. So one good catch. Decoys. What's scaring you? Um, Injury. Just headlines. World Authority. Thank you. You're 1-3. You need the W. Yeah, I got you, Ryan. I got you, bro. My name's Ryan too. So we're gonna be rooting on this together. We'll be rooting on this together. All right. Jason, how you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. Hope you are doing well too. You're thinking about trading JSN for BTJ, Kittle, and Travion Henderson. What do I think? Oh, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good. Um, so here's what's going through my head is like, let's say you trade JSN right now. Okay. Let's say you trade JSN right now. Do you automatically have to put BTJ into your lineup with the rest of your roster build? And what I mean by that is like you're not playing guys like, Trey Tucker or these roulette type wide receivers, but you'd be slotting in reasonably potential candidates like Tedero, McMillan, DK Metcalf, people in the range where it's still possible. And the reason I'm asking this is because, well, if you give up that value is like, even though you're probably giving up the best player, Kittle in his position can dominate hard, like just as hard or harder than JSN can dominate. And then the other players are basically just upside, right? BTJ and Travion. And I know Travion has not been anything useful this year, but he still has that blow up potential, and he's still the handcuff, right? And then BTJ was supposed to be projected at the same tier as JSN. So if he does pull it together, you're basically getting that value back, right? So as long as I feel like, as long as like right now, you're when you give up JSN, it wasn't like you were playing like a duo of JSN plus a Jacoby Myers or JSN plus a Trey Tucker, where you're if you have this guy out, you're now gonna have to rely on BTJ, and you're gonna be taking that L and not have Kittle available, and then put yourself at risk of the playoffs. I think it's okay. I think that trade is very, very good value if you're not like, like 0-4 or 1-4, 1-3, and you're not gonna have players. I hope that makes sense, Jason. But let me know what you think on that. Hold on, let me put this user in a timeout too. Okay, yeah, I'd have him and AJ Brown as your 1 and 2, with CMC and Josh Jacobs as your. Oh, what? Oh my goodness! Though, what? How is your league like a 8 team or a 10 team? But that is some solid running backs right there. You have no tight ends at all. Okay, so you're 4-1, and you lost this week. So yeah, like it sounds like the rest of your team, can handle that usage with things. So I would roll with that trade. Like if all you're giving up is 12 teams, you sold high on Javonte and got Josh Jacobs. Ooh, that is nice. That is nice. High five right there. Oh man, that's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, yeah, man. I think if you don't have a tight end, that'll lock and load you at tight end. And then, like I said, if BTJ pulls anything together, right, you should get close back to the value of your traded. So you basically just doubled up on that trade, and then Travion is just a free, quote unquote, gamble at that point. So I really like that value of that trade. So I do really like, I do like that. Um, Let me see. What did you say? You said you're banking on Travion to make that push like Gibbs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know everybody really wants him. I was high on him. I wasn't able to draft him, but they just love Ramondre Stevenson. So I don't know if it's gonna come down to another fumble or what, but maybe they can figure out how to use two backs, in that offense or something. But yeah, hopefully he gets it. Hopefully I helped you. Let me know if you end up going through with that trade. If you could drop a like, much appreciated, brother. But appreciate you asking all the questions. Let me know if I could help in any other way, Jason. Um Frizzle, how are you? Would I trade Keon and JMO for Bill? Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to decipher who these are. If you could help me out. I am not good with the slang. So is that Keon Coleman? And then if that's Jamison Williams, and if I'm trading Keon Coleman and Jamison Williams for, I'm assuming this is Bill Krosky or Bill Krosky Merritt, 100% I would do that. If I'm off on these players, then let me know. But I think he finally broke out, right? Well, I don't think. I know he finally broke out. If that's Bill Krosky, I hope that's Bill Krosky. um, I think the other guys, you're always playing roulette. You're rolling the dice if you're going to hit on them or not. Bill Krosky, if this is Bill Krosky, he's in it. Projected to be one of the best offenses on the season, and the signal I was waiting for was just those touches, because he basically was at less than 10 touches a week for running, but he hit 14. He hit the 100 yards. So I don't see them being like, no, let's bench this again. Like I foresee him being a roll it out starter. Okay, so if I'm right, then yeah, that's what I would roll with. But let me know. All right, Jason. God bless to you too, brother. God bless to you too. But yeah, Frizzle, that if I was right on those, I would take Bill. I mean, you're probably not. Keon and Jamo are probably sitting on your bench at this point, right? So, I think I would make that trade. But let me know if that's off or not, Frizzle. But appreciate that. What's up, Incognito TK? How are you? What is the highlight? How did the week go? Did you win? Did you have any players for today? What's going on? What is going on? As we wait for the next question and roll into things, I'm gonna share a couple things. We will start, I guess, since this is up already, we can start with my thoughts on some stock down from this week 5. Week 5. Incognito, would I trade away Javonte for Derrick Henry? I personally would not. If I would say if he, if everything was fine and dandy and Lamar was back and healthy and the defense was good, I and he was having these bad numbers, like because he's having bad numbers right now, right? But he had Lamar and the defense, and it just felt like a game flow thing, or I that would be one thing. But right now, there's two parts of the steep hill against Derrick Henry right now, right? It's Lamar Jackson is out, so the offense looks like trash. But then also on the other side of things, the defense is so hurt and bad that they're always playing from behind. So that's two separate issues, right? Because even when Lamar Jackson comes back, like let's say he comes back next week, right? Let's say he comes back next week. And he fixes that offense. That doesn't fix the defensive end of the problem. So all it takes is, one or two steps off um, from the Ravens in the beginning of a game, and they're playing from behind, and then Henry's usage is already down. It's because he doesn't get that passing game usage, right? So they basically have to be up close or a close game for him to get that value. Whereas Javonte right now, is the stream's lagging? Let me check something. Thanks for calling that out. Hold on. Let me try that. I have a couple. Let me see if this will fix that. I just tried something. So, but appreciate you letting me know that the stream is lagging. Let me know if it's still lagging or not. Or if it gets better. But sorry about that. I should have been on the good internet. The offense does look like trash. Yeah. So to get back, and I apologize on that, but let me know if the stream starts lagging again. But yeah. So since the defense is also so bad, right? They could be in a bad game script. Even if Lamar Jackson is back, right? They could still be in a negative game script, which takes away from his potential. Javonte is still somewhat used, in the passing game, and in addition to that, their offense is rolling. So, dang, really the stream is still lagging. What the heck is going on? That is weird. That is very weird. Okay. Okay. It says it should be good. Oh no. Now it says poor. Okay. There is something wrong. That's weird. Um, all right. Well, I'll try to I'll try to work through this and do this at the same time. So, basically what I was getting at is I think Javante is the better play long term incognito. I think it is better. Okay. I think he's the better play long term. Um, just because he is used in the passing game, right? And so even if Dallas is down, he's still on the field. Um, he's still on the field. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Incognito. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. But yeah, so even if Dallas is in the negative game script, um, you know, he's he's still being used, right? He's still being used. He's still on the field, but we physically see Derrick Henry not being used when they're in the negative game script. And Javante right now is at that threshold of where Derrick Henry would have to achieve to be in order to match that value, right? So right now, Javante's already. Where's the camera? Javante, a little bit. I do not think Javante is going to fall into full RB2 range. I think, he will always be top end RB2 at the worst, but I really think he's going to finish in the RB1 category, right? But now Henry is like literally 2 steps below that, and he would have to step his way up in order to match that value, right? So you're asking for a lot for that momentum to flip for both players in order for this to equalize. And with what is going on with the defense on Baltimore, it's going to be very hard to flip that script. With Lamar Jackson being injured, it's going to be very hard to flip that. I feel like they're going to be playing from behind most of the time. So I would keep I would personally keep Javante if I were you. But I hope that helps. Let me know if that brings up any other thoughts. Um, but hypoglycemic, thank you so much for also letting me know that the stream was lagging and looking better. Appreciate you. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions or things that I could help with. Incognito, you're welcome. Yes, best of luck. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you. Um, all right. So let's feel free, anybody, to drop any questions in the chat. Um, appreciate any likes, any engagement in the chat. Okay, so hypoglycemic says trade offer you got Mason Taylor, Enrico Dowdle for Travion Henderson and TJ Hawkinson. Are these the players? And I'm just making sure, like you would be giving Mason Taylor and Rico Dowdle, and you would be getting Travion Henderson and TJ Hawkinson. Just making sure that these are all the right players. And if these are the right players, okay, they are. I personally think so I know you probably might feel weird because Mason Taylor and Rico Dowdle were probably picked up off the waiver wire or at the very end of a draft or something. And it feels like that these other guys, because they were drafted in like round 4, 5, or 6 or something like that, that you feel like, they carry that value. And this is coming from somebody who is like personally wants Travion Henderson to succeed. I think you are taking the losing end of the stick. And here's why I'm thinking that. I do not think Rico Dowdle, even when Chuba Hubbard comes back full and healthy, I do not think he is going to go to no touches, especially after what he just did this week. Like if we look at it, even before Chuba got injured, he was starting to average 10 touches a game. He was someone who was, when he was in Dallas, could run from scrimmage for like 100 yards. So he is a talented player. He just proved that, right, this last week. So I don't think Rico Dowdle's value is going to zero when he comes out. I personally think he will get more usage than where Henderson is even at right now, even if Chuba gets healthy. And who even knows? Dowdle performs so well. If he keeps this up, how do we not know that he takes the lion's share for how bad that offense is in? Like they might get, desperate. In terms of the tight end side of things, I know TJ Hawkinson was drafted as, like top 5, 6, 7 round capital. And then Mason Taylor was like somebody to be picked up off the waiver, right? But in terms of TJ like Hawkinson, we're trusting an offense that does not look like they have it fully together to gel. We you know what I'm saying? And then even so, it's his usage over the years has been very, very shaky, right? And I know Mason Taylor has been, coming up, right? And we are a little uncertain on things, but let me pull something up for you here really quickly that I want to show you. So he was actually on, I just changed it, but look at the tight ends on the bottom left. Mason Taylor is somebody who I actually noted for people to watch the stock value going up, because what we're looking at here is, every player has a projected fantasy points for the week, and then there's something that they actually score, right? So we can take a difference of what the experts consensus rankings are saying versus what they're actually doing. And over these past 2 weeks, he has been outperforming his expectation. In addition to that, it's not that he's just randomly catching a 50-yard touchdown. If you look at his targets and his catches, they are really high. The usage is of a wide receiver. And I know the Jets suck, right? We can all agree on that. Sorry if anybody's a Jets fan. But that is more of a limitation on a running back than, a tight end or a wide receiver, because you would rather be playing from behind anyways. And if you do look at the usage on these last 2 weeks, these are the weeks that Justin Fields has been coming back, and so he is the starting quarterback, right? So it's not like we threw in Tyrod Taylor, and then he got a bunch of targets. Instead, this is the starting quarterback who is starting to look at him more. And after Garrett Wilson, who is really, the second target, it's Brees Hall. But so now it can be somebody else, right? It can be Mason Taylor. And I honestly see Mason Taylor for rest of season being a starting tight end who, can play in that same range as Hawkinson. So I honestly don't. I think the upside of Henderson is very high, but so is Rico Dowdle's, right? Like we just saw what he could do. So I wouldn't move off of things that seem to be working for potential that both sides of this coin have upside. Mason Taylor technically has upside, right? Rico Dowdle has upside. So I kind of like keeping that. I hope that helps you there. Let me know if not. So appreciate everybody's questions. Thanks so much for everything. Feel free if you can to drop a like or a heart in the chat or something like that. A like on the video. It helps me tremendously. Appreciate it. Okay, Incognito TK. Would I trade away Javonte or Kyron with Andrews for London / Kittle? Okay, so here what works perfectly for this trade is I have London and Kittle, right? And I can tell you because I've watched especially London stats over the weeks, and we're all familiar with Kittle. I personally think what you are giving up would be the top echelon running backs, right? Javonte or Kyron, with a lower projected for rest of season tight end. I don't project Mark Andrews as finishing in the top 10 tight ends for a possible, he is not proven yet. Hold on, let me get this out the chat. For a possible not proven yet wide receiver 1, and this is me, someone who has London. He's not proven yet, right? For me, as a wide receiver 1, and then Kittle, who is gonna be, as long as he's healthy, top tight end. So I guess the real question is, like, what are you looking to get out of the trade? Is it because you feel you have, I see you trying to make a trade with Javonte a lot. I'm making assumptions here, right? Is it because you have too many running backs and you are weak at wide receiver, so you're trying to get a wide receiver, or you don't like Andrews, you're trying to solidify a tight end? Like, what is your main goal in these trades? Because I will tell you straight up on the value of London, he does have the potential to finish as a wide receiver 1. And I projected him that way. How he looks on the field, he does look like a wide receiver 1. He looks very strong, very fast, making his cuts. He looks very, like skilled. It looks like he should be there. However, wide receivers are heavily reliant on the quarterback. And from what I've seen of Michael Penix, there's a lot of swings in his game. There's a lot of swings, and for London to have that last game, this last blow-up game that he did have, I watched it, right? I watched it. They had to manufacture like looks for him. It was kind of like that, like Jamar Chase / AJ Brown vibe, where it was like, this guy, we need to get him going, right? So all that for me to say is, I think you are giving up the better end of the deal here. However, again, what is the point of this trade, right? Like, if you are sitting somebody like Javonte potentially just because you have so many running backs, but then you're rolling out Andrews every week, and a roulette type of like a DK Metcalf or something at wide receiver, and you're looking for something more solid, this trade is fine. Like, you do get that value if you're missing a wide receiver and you're missing a tight end. But if it's just more so like I have all this value and I'm trying to make a trade, like I would say you are kind of taking like in a vacuum the smaller end of the stick, but it doesn't mean that it can't work for your specific team, right? I don't know the dynamics of your specific team if uh you're gonna get it. And I guess another way to like look at this, right, is when you can plug and play your players into your roster, right? If you take these players and plug them in, right? Like let's say you're plugging in uh Drake London for, Tedero McMillan or DK Metcalf, and there's like a +5 there, right? And then instead of Andrews, you're going to be plugging in Kittle, and that's, let's say, like +5 just for easy numbers. So with this trade, you gain 10 points, right? Let's just say. But then instead of Javonte in a flex, you are now playing, you know, uh, Tedero somebody who's scoring, 9 points a game. And now you're losing 12 points in that position. That is an overall -2 value on that trade, right? For what you're projected to be. However, if this guy is just, sitting on your bench and you're consolidating for other positions, then it for sure makes sense. So it's hard. The hard thing for me to say is like the dynamics of your specific roster build, for what you're trying to accomplish. Overall, this trade will work for some teams, right? This trade will work for some specific situations. Value is not 90-10. The value I would say is like, I would 55-45, right? You're not, if you do this trade and it's just straight up on value, it's pretty close. But I think the person getting Javonte or Kyron's getting the more secure side of things. I hope that helps. I know that was a lot, but let me know if that helps or not. Feel free to drop any more questions in the chat. Of course, Incognito TK. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you get the trade that you're looking for. Best of luck to everybody. Feel free, anybody, to drop questions in the chat while we all do that. I am going to just talk a bit on some. You're you're good on wide receivers. You're keeping Javonte. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you're good on all your positions, then yeah, keep them, because if you're like, one of my league mates is like basically rolling out Kyron Williams in a flex, and that's like crazy, right? If you can roll out a guy like Javonte or Kyron in a flex, it's pretty hard to beat that. So really appreciate you asking. Feel free, anyone, to let me know anything else. And while that's going up, let's cover some of the players from last week real quick. Oh wow, it's already 5:30. Wheels up for Bill yet. What does that mean? Bill Krosky? Is that Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt? If it's Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, then yes, sir. We can look at the bottom right of my screen. Oh, it is? Yeah, look at the bottom right of my screen for Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. So, last week or so, I guess it would be like a day ago, right? 2 days ago or a day ago, when people were asking me, should I start Ja'Cory? Unfortunately, I was a little hesitant. I think JCM, you're starting him up, right? Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, that's who I'm talking about, right? In the bottom right, we're starting him up. We're starting him up weekly now. So that's what that bottom right is basically saying is, the only hesitation I had was because for the first 4 weeks he was very close to his projections, and his usage, was only getting less than 10 touches a game. It was less than Rico Dowdle when he was splitting with Chuba Hubbard. But this last game, he got 14 carries plus a couple passes, and so they'd be foolish after a 100-yard rushing game on 14 carries to go to somebody else. They would be foolish to do that. We're starting him up. Um, he's on a great offense, right? This offense projected to be really good. The more cohesion him and Daniels get, I think it'll be good. So I would definitely use him. Would I start Bill Krosky over Rico Dowdle next week? Ooh, that's a great question. Let me look at the matchups. Let me look at the matchups real quick. Because um and this is assuming you're saying that Chuba Hubbard is injured. I would assume, right? That's what you're probably thinking. So the Commanders are playing the Bears. The Bears, not a scary thing. Team. So run could be good there. The Panthers are playing. Who are they playing? They're playing the Cowboys. Who are pretty good through the beat through the air. Um, um, I have a hard time putting him over if what's this guy's name? If Chuba Hubbard is injured and that means he is not playing and Rico Dowdle is gonna get uh the starting role, I would not play. Oh, Trebler's out next week too. I would play him, dude. For me, it just comes down to the carries, right? So they were both good on a 1 week snapshot. So to me, that's the same amount of data, right? It's the same amount of data. We're both fire both of them up. But even though Ja'Cory got 14 touches, Rico got over 20. So that tells you that they are just straight up relying on him and they are willing to use him as the full bell cow. He got 4 targets in the receiving game as well, so he's gonna be used in both. I think Ja'Cory did get some usage in the receiving game too, but it's just like on an overall touches, yeah, he got 2 targets. In an overall targets and usage, basically Rico's doubled him, right? 4 targets to 2 targets, 23 carries to 14 carries. So like it's not to me a question of skill. It's just like where's the opportunity gonna be? And it just Rico's there's very few running backs who get 20 plus touches. So I would go with that. Oh, and it's a revenge game. Oh, you're right. Yes, they are gonna you are absolutely right. With the revenge game, it being a revenge game, they are going to try to manufacture a touch for him for a touchdown, most likely, right? At least one. So, yeah, I would fire up Rico. But man, you have some good depth, man. Good job on that waiver wire broker, and good job on your draft. But really appreciate the questions. Let me know if you got any more thoughts. Hey, Sean, how are you doing? Hope you had a good week. You're looking for some advice in Dynasty. Who would I rather have, BTJ or Ted McMillan? Dude, at this point, I mean, so you can see BTJ is in my spotlight um, down here. At this point, this is like Brian Thomas Jr.'s last gasp chance for me for this year. Like, of course he can bounce back, but I normally only give like I say normally 4 weeks is a good amount of data, right? Because it's like 20 to 25% of the season, and he hasn't really done anything yet, right? It's not to say he's the worst player for a dynasty roster, but you're basically almost at the same point, right? A first year wide receiver versus a second year wide receiver. It's not like one of these guys is 52 years old and the other one is 22 years old, right? They're relatively the same age. And if you look at, BTJ, okay, you're great. He had a great season, right? And then Tet right now, I don't know if you've been watching him play, but he looks like he's gonna be that dude. It's just okay, and let me pull this up because this is exactly was my hesitation. And for Dynasty, this doesn't matter as much as Dynasty for this year, right? But this was one of my callouts. I personally think Tet's downness right now is mainly on their offensive scheme and Bryce Young. Like if we look at Bryce Young's projections versus what he's putting out, he's not even projected to like do that high of points, right? 15 points as a quarterback. That's really not asking for, that much. Yet he's underperforming pretty much every single week besides that 1 week where, they went for like 200 yards in the fourth quarter or whatever it was. Um, and the Cardinals almost just wanted to give that game away. But he just hasn't. Bryce Young hasn't looked good. Their offensive line looks like they can't protect him very well. So I don't think Tet's down first 4 weeks. It wasn't necessarily down, right? He just didn't pop. He's just been on that bottom wide receiver 2, barely flexible range, right? But if you look at how he's actually playing, he looks like he's going to be an alpha. Like if he had a quarterback, running good routes, catching like all the catchable balls, able to make some yards after catch. So for me, I think it's okay to go with Tet rest of season with the uncertainty of BTJ. It's not like BTJ's quarterback. What's that guy's name? I'm totally blanking. Lawrence. It's not like he is the greatest quarterback in the world, right? Where it's like, oh, like here's this connection. It's like if they move out Bryce Young, they could just as easily move out Trevor Lawrence or So I kind of just am going based off of this feel. I had Brian Thomas Jr. last year, and he's great. It was just kind of like Terry McLaurin. It was like some of that was built off of these like huge plays, like 3 or 4 huge things, and if they don't swing the right way, maybe it doesn't work the right way for them. But that's kind of my thought on that. I think they're both studs. I just wonder who might get a better situation first. They are both studs, right? Like again, don't get me wrong. I had Brian Thomas Jr. last year. He was fantastic. I just I don't know. Who's gonna get the better situation first? That's a tough one. It's just preference for me to pick up Tet just based off of what I've just seen recently. But like you said, Brian Thomas Jr. is a great football player, so I don't want to take anything away from him. He could do well. What were you gonna trade or something, Sean, or what were you thinking with that? Um, and so yeah, as you answer that, the Bryce Young, he's looking pretty terrible right now this year. That offense uh is not able to move very much. I look at the wide receiver column, Jerry Jeudy, Cleveland. Even though Dylan Gabriel and Cleveland look well, the touches went to every single person except Jerry Jeudy. So that's very concerning to me. He's already been on a downward trajectory, not only what his performance is, but what the entire sentiment of that team is, and he's still underperforming that. So I'm out on Jerry Jeudy. I'm out on Bryce Young. Sean, you said you have the opportunity to trade Tet straight up for BTJ in Dynasty. Just wasn't sure what to do. Oh, so you have Tet right now, and then you were going to trade him for BTJ. Is that what I'm understanding? Because somebody offered BTJ for Tet. Hmm. Well, I think the competition ladder is also a little stiffer in Jacksonville. They just spent high draft capital on Travis Hunter. They're going to try to make that work. Um, when you look at Carolina, it's like who is number 2? Xavier Legette, maybe. Um, so I mean, they're both going to be on that team for the next couple years. I don't know. That was the plan if I go for it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I would go for that. It's hard. Yeah, I think I would have a hard time taking that, but I think they're both good, right? Like it's just like you said, who's gonna have more opportunities to shine? Um, who's gonna have more opportunities to shine? But I watched BTJ pretty closely last year. This year I'm watching Tet pretty closely. They're both good. They both run well. They both are athletic. Um, Tet, I just my gut just tells me I would take Tet. But I wish you the best with that trade. It's a good problem to have, right? It's a good it's a good problem to be uh worried about. All right, so we talked about Jerry Jeudy, talked about Bryce Young. Juwan Johnson, tight end who started off extremely hot and has just kind of shrunk over these past weeks. He has gotten an injury. Not only has he gotten an injury, but he also is having more competition come in. Taysom Hill's coming back. These other tight ends are coming back. The ball's being spread out more. I think it was nice while he had his little run, but I think that run is pretty much over, and that offense is just going to spread that ball around, and he's just not going to be able to maintain that. You're heading back to work. Have a good night too, Sean. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. All right. And let's see. So let me just drop this and questions. Bill, any more staying on? Dude, these you see them, you see them too, bro. I have to fight this all the time. It's like wearing three hats at the same time. They they come in. They also have these bots, bro, where like it looks like a person, right? It looks like a person. They're like, "Oh, you guys should try out this awesome new thing that I've had." And then he'll send like a follow-up message or within the same message. It's like, it's go to www.gamestreaming.com. And then like a different avatar profile will like copy and paste the exact same message right after. And then a different avatar will come in and do the same thing. I'm just like, dude, like, how do these guys like, how does this happen? Like, it's all like the same people. It's the same exact like company. So I'm never using that company ever. I never do it. Do I multi-stream or is this YouTube only? It's YouTube only, right? Now this is my first year streaming, so I kind of just like picked it up and wanted to see it since I've been doing YouTube, but I've heard of other platforms. I don't know if you stream or not, Incognito TK. But have you tried other platforms? I've heard about different ones between Patreon, Rumble, Periscope, all these different things. So if you have, I'm curious on your thoughts on things. Dang, more bots, yo. All right, get them out of here. Okay. All right, so we talked about Juwan Johnson being down. Last one on the stock down before the stock up. We got Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, unfortunately for me, is starting to move into that unfortunate potentially sit slash I don't know if you can get value off of him. That Chase Brown headed there pretty quick into this similar bucket and range, but it is not looking good for Alvin Kamara. He's had negative game scripts in all of his starts so far, meaning from the beginning of the season, it's just kind of been on a downward trend, and I don't think that's changing because they're starting to give not Kenneth Gainwell, almost like Kenneth Gainwell. Oh my goodness, why am I slipping on his name? They're big. I can't remember off the top of my head what his name is. They're basically moving off of Alvin Kamara. Like this last week, he got single digit carries. So he's somebody I'm a little cautious to have. I would say uh, in terms of his long term value. Alvin Kamara, I'm not too hot on him. Um, all right, let's end this on a positive note. Let's end these on the good notes, right? We have had some good performances this last week, and I think these players can pretty much be auto started or high trade value if you have depth at the position. Dak Prescott is looking like he's going to finish as a top 6 wide receiver for the season. He's finished there before, right? And he has had down years, but just like Christian McCaffrey, those down years were due to health. On the years he is healthy, he has finished in, the top 5 quarterback. And this week, this year, it's looking that way, even without CeeDee Lamb. Look at what he's done these past 2 weeks. So when CeeDee Lamb comes back, that can only help him, right? The Smitty, how are you? You are 1-4. Oh, sorry to hear, bro. You're 2 quarterback, super flex. So is that 2 quarterbacks plus a super flex, or I would assume that's just 2 quarterbacks total. That I'm just a little confused there. So you got Daniels, Purdy, Mac Jones, Gabriel, Rattler. Your running backs are Henderson, Montgomery, Rashad White, and Woody Marks. Your tight ends are Waller, Kittle. Oh, so you're good at tight end. Your wide receivers are Nico Collins, DK, Juwan Jennings, Rashee Rice, Luke McCaffrey. What and who would you trade for? Yeah, so just to clarify, is this 2 quarterbacks plus a super flex, or is this a quarterback and a super flex? So like the main question is, and essentially, right, are you able to roll out 3 quarterbacks per week, or is it 2? That's just the one thing I'm a little confused on, and that will drastically change my answer if you are starting 2 quarterbacks or 3 in this league. So with where you're at, I'll just kind of start while you let me know, right? And the reason I say 2 quarterbacks versus 3 is a huge difference, right? Is if you think about it, there's only 32 teams. The only 2 quarterbacks, the only second quarterback, the flex spot is the second quarterback spot. Okay. So for your team, then if you're playing 2 quarterbacks, you are going to need some depth at running back, it looks like. Because right now you basically have a borderline running back 2, right, with Montgomery. Rashad White right now will give you value. When Bucky comes back, that's going to drop, right? So what I would be looking to do, right? You got Nico Collins and you got Rashee Rice as solid wide receivers. I assume this is a 2 wide receiver league too, right? So you only need 2 wide receiver. And then is it a flex plus a super flex, or is it just a super flex? But basically what you need is, it looks like you're getting dominated in the running back categories, probably at both positions, right? And what I mean by that is when you line up running back 1 against your opponent's running back 1 and your running back 2 against your opponent's running back 2, you're probably in a negative game script for both of those positions. Okay, so there is no flex. Okay, just a super flex. Okay. So yeah. So then right now, if you're rolling out, like let's pretend Bucky's back, right? It looks like you're rolling out Monty, and then you're flipping between Rashad White and Travion Henderson, right? So you're probably negative. Yeah. I that's going to turn around a little bit, right? With with time, the quarterbacks, and you did they all got injured, right? They all got injured. But Mac Jones looking like the truth, though, if I have to say so myself, after betting against him and taking that L. um, so what I would be looking to do is trying to figure out how you can get another solid uh running back. And this is not going to sound fun, but your best value right now is probably either Kittle or Waller, right? Since you could roll out, you only need one, right? You're only gonna need one. Obviously, injuries could happen, but um, somebody else would use one of those guys, because one of those guys, both of those guys, have the potential to probably finish in the top 10 tight end position, which would be a starting tight end, right? And then if you only need two wide receivers, you would be looking at turning maybe, let's say, the name value of Nico Collins into a usable running back, right? Maybe you can get a usable running back plus a throwaway wide receiver or something like that, right? Or maybe you could get that value with Rashee Rice, right? Or maybe you can package together the tight end plus one of those two wide receivers. But right now, your to me, your weak spot is trying to figure out a running back. And so what I would do in your league, right, is look for especially because since you guys don't have a flex, right, there possibly could be people who have like 4 solid running backs on their roster, and they're always sitting somebody. And you could think about it from their shoes, right? If they don't have, like, if they're always trying to make a choice, but then they're losing out. Like, let's say that they're playing crappy tight ends, right? They're just streaming tight ends and they're taking a donut, right? Or low points in the tight end, but then they're sitting the running back, and he has 15 points on his bench for a running back. He's frustrated, right? Because he's taking, 1 or 2 points in the tight end position, right? Or if he's, having to rotate in Trey Tucker or like all these, like, Keon Coleman or something in the wide receiver thing, but he's leaving 15 points on the bench in a running back, he'd be willing to give that up. So with what you got, I would be looking to either take some of that tight end value or some of that wide receiver value, seeing if I could package that in some type of way to someone who needs one or both of those positions and has running back depth. I don't think you're necessarily moving off of your quarterbacks, right? Like Jaden Daniels is not. I don't think you're going to sit. That is Jaden Daniels, right? That's for who your quarterback is up there. I don't think you're ever going to sit him, right? And then you're probably going to be rolling out SF just based on who's healthy. I don't think you're going to try to downgrade a Nico Collins and try to pick up a quarterback. I think you're solid. You're competitive there, right? I would say you're competitive. I wouldn't say you're necessarily in a plus game script with your two quarterbacks, but over the course of a season, I think you're competitive in those positions, but you are not competitive at the running back position with where you are at right now. So that's the hole I would try to fix. Does that make sense? I don't know if you could go look at some of the running backs or the teams in your league, but that's who I would kind of go target, right? Is some of those people that might have some of that on their bench and with the value that you could make. And you could ask me if you want, or let me know any thoughts. Yeah, Neil, I'm definitely down to talk. Just drop it in the chat. Just was helping the Smitty out here right now with some trade thoughts. So for sure, go ahead and drop it in the chat. And the Smitty, also let me know if that was helpful, not helpful, or if you have the target in mind based off of that feedback. And while we wait for them to finish dropping those questions, let's keep moving along on this. So we talked about Dak Prescott being, somebody who seems like he's going to be good rest of the season. Move down to the tight end position. I know the tight end position is always fun. It's always fun. The tight end position is the most fun position. Mason Taylor, he's a name that may still be possible to pick up in some leagues. But he's looking like he's going to be the second option in that team reliably, right? Of course, Breece Hall's going to get his in the receiving game, but it does seem like he's going to get some usage. So I really like him rest of the season. Okay, so Neil says full PPR, 8-man league. Justin Jefferson for Bucky Irving and Jamar Chase. You give away Justin Jefferson and you get Bucky Irving and Jamar Chase. Is that what I'm understanding? That's pretty good if that's what I'm understanding. If you are getting and just let me know if I'm off base. That is it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid value. I mean, like, if they force feed anybody the ball in the Bengals, it's gonna be Jamar Chase. It was very ugly how he got to his point total. Don't get me wrong. I am not high on what's his name? Jake Browning. So I do believe Justin Jefferson is in the better offense than Jamar Chase right now. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying those guys are in equal situations right now. In terms of what they can output in fantasy, they are very close, right? And what they could output. But then Bucky Irving is, he's injured right now. Don't get me wrong. But when he plays, he is a borderline RB1. So you're basically getting borderline RB1 value plus, because he gets passes too, right? It's not like it's Derrick Henry where he doesn't get passes. Bucky Irving gets passes, and this is a PPR league, so that's still, a little positive there. Jamar Chase, I know it was not fun how he got his points, but he got his points, and I feel like they're going to force him the ball. And so while right now in these next couple weeks, I think Jefferson might outperform, I think over the course of the season, you're gonna upgrade, right? If you're taking Bucky Irving and you're gonna be able to put him into like a flex, right? Or put him into an RB2 and then move that RB2 to a flex, it feels like you're winning, right? Would you say JJ McCarthy's coming back and want him in Jetta's drops way less points, it seems? Yes, that is true, but JJ McCarthy is still unproven on the course of the season, right? I'm not saying he's as bad as Jake Browning. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he won't have a good season. But what I am saying is still just a little bit unproven. So as long as you're not going to sit Bucky on the bench, right? This is how I would look at it. So if you take Justin Jefferson, right, or you take your spot of where you had Justin Jefferson, right, and that was your wide receiver position, and let's say you had to put Jamar Chase in that position, I don't think the points you lose on that differential is as small as the amount of points you're going to gain when you put Bucky Irving in for whoever you are replacing at that position. Because, like, who are you going to be replacing at that position? And then you're going to be moving that person probably to your flex, most likely. And that probably is a solid flex, I would assume, right? But I would look at it as like, what is my plus and minus difference at this position, right? Maybe you view Justin Jefferson as like a plus 3 points per week over Jamar Chase. But I feel like when you get that Bucky Irving, it's more than plus 3 points of where you're going to move him into that position and then be able to bump your flex down one spot or have that extra flex in rotation. I feel like you could get more than plus 3 with those two things. I hope that makes sense, Neil. Let me know if I am off base here or not. The Smitty says, the guy I want to trade with has Bucky and Hampton. Oh, dude. Dude, Hampton, RIP. Somebody literally asked me yesterday. They were very close to accepting receiving Amarian Hampton and then giving away their first round picks. This is Dynasty League of 2026 and 2027. And I told him I thought that was too much. I did not know he was going to get injured. I was just like, I don't know if I would do that if you're in a rebuild, because he said he was in a rebuild. And I just told him, commit to the rebuild if you're going to rebuild, and don't take this. And then just by that grace, he missed that trade. That was not on me. That was the man upstairs, and however that happened. But okay, so yeah, so the guy you want to trade with, it has injured running backs. Maybe he'd be willing to move off Bucky then if he's injured. I don't know. Maybe he'd be willing to do that. Is that the only person you could trade with, Smitty, or not? But I would. Obviously, you're not gonna take Hampton, right? But Bucky might only be out one more week. I'm not sure if there's anybody else in your league that you could trade. But let me know, Smitty. I'll move on to these other questions and then come back to you if you end up dropping another comment. Ezekiel, should you trade Kamara and Golden for Judkins and AJ Brown? Bro, if you can get Judkins and AJ Brown, I would tap that trade button as fast as I could. Let me show you. If you are trading away Kamara, dude, do this trade in a heartbeat. Let me show you something. Kamara is on my stock down list. You know, what we're looking at here, if you look in the bottom right, we're looking at what are the experts projecting on a week and what is he actually performing. And he is in a -4 points per game underneath expectation. And his expectations have been dropping over the weeks, right? His expectations have been dropping. So he is not only expected to perform less, but he's underperforming those under expectations. On top of that, they're starting to split that backfield more. Alvin Kamara's ceiling is not high anymore. If you physically watch him play, he is slow. He's way faster than me. Don't get me wrong, he will dust me. But in terms of an NFL field, he does not have that burst that he used to have when he would catch a receiving pass and be able to take off for 15 to 20 yards. That is not there anymore. I do not see Alvin Kamara holding value over the long-term course of the year. He basically barely was able to do that last year based off of just touchdowns and receptions, but he's not necessarily there. Would I? But what? Wait. So let me make sure I'm understanding you, Ezekiel. You are receiving Judkins and AJ Brown, right? Because I would take both of those guys in a heartbeat. AJ Brown versus Matthew Golden. Yeah, bro, take them both. I would take AJ Brown over Matthew Golden too. You know, it's the upside of Golden, right? What everybody's projecting to be is what AJ Brown is not. Okay, wait, let me take a step back and re-say this in a different way. The upside of where they project AJ Brown to be, or the upside of where they project Matthew Golden to be, is not as high as where AJ Brown has performed on seasons before. AJ Brown is not going to perform at the ceiling that he has had in his previous seasons, but there are so many mouths to feed around Matthew Golden where both of their ceilings are probably, in similar ranges. AJ Brown is still, to me, the better choice between those two receivers. So I would absolutely trade away Kamara plus Golden for Judkins plus Brown. You win at both positions. And if it was just Kamara for Judkins, I would still take Judkins. Judkins is gonna be a wide receiver 1, borderline between wide receiver 1 to 2 for the rest of the season. He got over 20 plus touches last week. he's basically had 20 plus touches in the last close to 3 games when you take the average of the carries plus the receptions. There are very few backs who do that in the league. And not only is he having those opportunities, but he is running with the football. His yards per carry is, for how many touches he has, is insane, right? If you imagine 25 touches per game, 4 yards per carry is 100 yards. He's doing better than that. He had over 100 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, and he still, he still racked up the fantasy points. He's a lock and loaded one. So I would do that, Ezekiel. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if not. The Smitty said, would I trade for Josh Jacobs? Yes, I would trade for Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, to me, is going to finish in that same range, but he has the higher ceiling. Okay. I think he's going to finish in that same range with Judkins. He's in that same range of players. When I'm talking about players who get 20 plus touches on a week, there are very few people who do that. It's like Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, maybe Kyron Williams. There's very few people who get that, and why I say Josh Jacobs' ceiling is higher is because he is on a better offense than Judkins, so that is the only difference, right? And since you're on a better offense, you have the potential to get more touchdowns, right? So I think yes, trade for Josh Jacobs. That is a good one, hands down. Madi, how are you? You got Rome Odunze, Ibuka, Ricky Pearsall, CMC, Henry, Kyron, Javonte, Chuba. Are you just bragging at this point, bro? Are you just bragging at this point? And Bill Krosky, you're trying to package 2 for an upgrade. Who should I target? So, when we look at trades, right, we have to look at what the other person needs for the value that we can provide, right? Because you both have to win in the trade for the trade to make sense. Of course, you can just fleece the person, but that's not good, right? So what you would do is you would go look at all the other teams in your league and see who has a need, right? Who has a need for what you have. And typically, the people who are in a losing record are going to be more likely to want to trade. It's not to say a person 5-0 won't trade or 4-1 won't trade. It's just, it's more likely when somebody is 1-4 that they're going to want to trade. Okay. So what you are looking to do at this point is you are looking to condense, if you're going to condense these players, you would be looking for an automatic start if you're going to stay in the same category position. So what I mean by that is you gave me all the running backs and wide receivers, right? But there's no tight end or quarterback here. So when you look at let's say wide receivers, let's say you were going to give up like Romo Dunze and Ricky Pearsall, or Ibuka and Henry, you would be looking to get back somebody you are going to for sure start, right? Which would be like, let's say, Bijan Robinson, okay? Right? Or if it were a wide receiver position, you would get, let's say Puka Nacua, right? You got Kittle on IR. Okay, so you're not going to need a tight end, right? Since you have Kittle, once he comes off IR, you're going to lock and load that. Is that Warren as in Tyler Warren, or is that Jalen Warren when you say you have Warren? So what you could do in this position, right, is like, it's not like you choose, if you like, you could roll with Rome and Ibuka rest of season, right? And no one would tell you otherwise. You could roll with CMC, Kyron, and Javonte in your running backs and flex, and no one would tell you, right? Anything otherwise. What's interesting to me is you have so much value, bro, right? You have so much value that like I would honestly look, and since it's Tyler Warren too, so you're locked and loaded at tight end too. Bro, is your league just like, how did you draft like this? This is insane. Is this an 8-team league? Maybe. Um, but I then would look maybe at the quarterback position. Who's your quarterback? Um, because like, you know, I think your depth is very solid, right? It's not like you're gonna not play CMC and then either in Javonte, like these guys. You drafted all these gems late in a 10-man PPR. Okay. Who you got Drake May, but lost Burrow. Okay. So yeah, that might be something that you could look at there, right? So my question before I suggest this, do you believe Drake May is going to finish as a top 3 to 5 quarterback, top 6 quarterback, top 3, 5, 6 quarterback? And if the answer is no, then that's your weakest position probably, right? Because you one of you like your running backs are all going to finish in the top 10. Most likely either Rome or Ibuka or both of them are going to finish in the top 12. So, unless you're targeting, there's only like 2 wide receivers at this point, maybe just Jefferson too, that you can definitively say will probably finish, in there. It would be either Amon-Ra St. Brown or Puka Nacua, essentially, right? Like Ibuka and Rome are basically right behind those guys. So, in the wide receiver position, it's very hard to upgrade, and I think you would be paying up too much to try to consolidate into that. And then you have CMC, who is, unless you're going to try to roll out like CMC plus Bijan Robinson, right? You already have Kyren and Javonte. So like, unless you're going to package like, Javonte plus Bill Krosky, and then you're going to try to get Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson, you're paying up to get somebody who that point differential is not that much. But if you don't believe Drake May is going to finish in the top 5 or 6, then maybe you can trade for the Josh Allen or something like that. Should you trade Kyren and Ricky for JJ? I've been talking with that manager. What about a Javonte and Ibuka for Gibbs or Bijan? Yeah, so that's basically what I'm saying right here, right? In both, so I think the Kyren plus Ricky one is more value for you, because Ricky Pearsall's gonna lose his value over time. Ibuka is gonna lose his value a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be that much. But Ricky Pearsall, think about it. George Kittle's coming back, right? You want George Kittle to get those targets if he's on your team. George Kittle's gonna come back, right? You're gonna have Juwan Jennings. You're gonna have eventually Brandon Ayuk. So there's gonna be a lot of mouths to feed there. So if you could push Ricky Pearsall right now, I would encourage that, right? Versus the other one that you said, yes, Bijan and Gibbs, are projected to be better than what you said. You're giving up a lot, bro. You're giving up Javonte, who's basically performing, just like right at that level too, right? And Ibuka, who is lights out. I think you're giving up a little too much to try to consolidate. Like that almost feels like a forced consolidation, right? The Kyren plus Ricky for Justin Jefferson feels a little bit more natural. It still feels like a lot, but it feels like that can work, right? thoughts on even Kyron and Drake May for Josh Allen? See, yes, that's exactly what I would be saying as well, right? Is I think that position is your weakest position, right? With Drake May there. So if you can consolidate your players, oh, I'm reading your thoughts. If you can consolidate your players and then have, especially in a 10-team league, right? When you can have an advantage at every single position. When you have Josh Allen, you have an advantage, right? There's very few that you won't have an advantage on, right? Then you have your advantages for CMC plus and then your wide receivers, and then your tight end, you're going to have an advantage, right? You can also look at, you have a lot of value in your tight end position too. It's always good to have a backup, but just letting you know that either one of those guys is high trade value as well, right? Just depending on the team you need to hit. So appreciate that. Let me go back to the question list. The Smitty, what about Breece Hall? Yeah, Breece Hall is a good target for sure. I would say that he is a very viable target to have rest of season. He doesn't have competition right now because Braden Allen got put on IR, so definitely can target Breece Hall too, Smitty. That's a good one. Ezekiel, what if I do 1-for-1 Kamara and I get Judkins? And that's fine. Yes, bro, that is 100% fine. I would sell Kamara for anything right now. I can't believe somebody would be willing to take Kamara for Judkins. Take it. Do it. Do it. Appreciate you, Marty. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. If you could drop a like, that'd be much appreciated. Appreciate y'all for asking all these questions. Should you trade Chase Brown for Xavier Worthy? Ooh, that's a great question. So let me take a sip of water real quick. Thank you, Marty. Really appreciate you here 30 minutes before games. Maybe see you either Thursday or Sunday. Appreciate you. All right, Alex. So Chase Brown for Xavier Worthy. This is how I look at things. Also, let me know if this is a PPR or whatnot. But Chase Brown, rest of season value, I don't see. I don't see being that high. I think he would be fighting to be into the RB2 category. It's not to say he can't score points, but like look at what happened yesterday, right? Yesterday feels like how it's going to be used for him, where your upside is going to be 5 to 7, 8 receptions with Chase Brown, which is really good, but he only got 20 yards with it. So like there's not much going on in that offense. Xavier Worthy, he has Rashee Rice coming back, right? But everybody wants it to be Rashee Rice. We all think it could be Rashee Rice, but it doesn't mean that it is going to be it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that both of them can't eat in an offense with Patrick Mahomes, right? So if Patrick Mahomes has one of his seasons, right, where he's and it kind of looks like he is, right? It kind of looks like he's moving in that direction. It's not like in the past 4 or 5 years ago where Travis Kelce was the man, right? It's proven right now where Travis Kelce is not going to be the man. Like, yes, he'll be helpful, but he's not going to be that guy for 80 to 90 yards a game and a touchdown. So maybe Worthy can fill that role. So how I'm looking at this is if you have Chase Brown right now, right, and you are looking at potentially benching him, right? You're debating him in and out of a flex, right? And you're debating him benching him. But you're weak at wide receiver, right? You're playing guys off the waiver, or you're playing, these guys who just Calvin Ridley, or just these names that don't go. Then yes, But if you're just trying to make a trade and you're not going to use Worthy, then maybe you could find better value for Chase Brown. But like I said, if you're missing a wide receiver two, right? This is a PPR league or something. You're missing a wide receiver two, or maybe it's a 3 receiver league and you're missing a wide receiver three. You need some wide receiver depth. This trade is fine. It's just like, but if you're gonna lose Chase Brown and then you're gonna be playing, I don't know, Ramondre Stevenson or something instead, or maybe somebody even worse than Ramondre Stevenson, then don't sacrifice that running back position. But if Chase Brown is basically sitting on your bench doing nothing, or you have these other flexes that you could play to get just as equal value, I would take that trade quickly. Only thing for Bengals and Chase Brown is rest of schedule after Green Bay next week looks great. Yeah, I mean, but here, like, you have to be able to to use this schedule though, right? You have to be able to even benefit from that schedule. How I kind of feel Chase Brown feels to me right now. Um, I think it's even worse, but like when Todd Gurley was on the Rams before they got Sean McVay, it just felt it was just painful to watch, and you drafted so high for a guy who is barely getting 50 yards and a touchdown every third game, or so the schedule does look good. So if you want to take that risk, you can. I'm just kind of over Chase Brown at this point. All right, let's see. Well, went a little longer, which is good. Before I wrap up, keep dropping any questions, guys, in the chat. Let me finish the stock up page. Thank you so much to everyone who's asked questions and dropped things in the chat. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, so let's wrap this page up. We went over Dak Prescott. We went over Mason Taylor. Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs was a man who, was a wide receiver one his whole duration, like a long time at Minnesota, even going to the Bills, he was very good. And now on the Patriots, came off of an injury, had some off-season shenanigans that made people doubt him, but over the past 2 weeks, he's looked fantastic. He's solidified himself 100-yard games. He's clearly the number one passing option in that offense. So anybody who was waiting on Stephon Diggs to be playable, he is now 100% startable. You shouldn't worry about starting Stephon Diggs up. And I think he even has a high trade value at this point, especially with his name value and then coming off 2 strong games. Definitely, if you have excess receivers and are in need of something, he's got high value right now. And then finally, we got Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt in the running back section, and I was just waiting for I was basically waiting for the signal, and my signal, when I say by that, is like when does the coaching staff finally say, okay, this is the guy, right? And when we look at the previous weeks, there was like this like even split between all the backs, right? And I don't think Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt is going to come out here and get 20 plus touches a game, but he had 14 touches this last game and 2 catches, so 16 touches. I foresee that 15 to 17 touch range every week, highly possible. So I think he's somebody that can be started. I don't know how much passing work he's going to get, but he got 2, so we'll kind of see. But I think as a wide receiver 2 or high in flex for sure. You're welcome, Smitty. You're welcome. Hypoglycemic says, I talked to one of my league mates about sending Derrick Henry to get Quinshawn Judkins. Just want to double check, but he sends it that trade. It's a smash accept, right? Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely take that. Too. It's just they're Cleveland is signaling so hard that they want that they're basically, you know, uh going to make Judkins the focal point of their offense. The only asterisk on Judkins is that it is still up in the air if on his off-field shenanigans, right? That there is a potential for him to get suspended still, right? But just with all quiet on the Western Front, it's kind of feeling like he's not going to get suspended um this season, but that is just a still potential, right? That is still something that potentially can happen. Um but with where Derrick Henry is currently at, I personally, I don't think it's going to be a 6-game suspension if anything, but even if it was like a 3-game suspension and I had the depth of running back to at least struggle through those 3 weeks, it's not like you're putting Derrick Henry in and you have all this awesome confidence that he's going to be able to score you, fantasy points every week. So I would take that. I would take that. But Judkins is in my roster build, he is not a mandatory play every week. So if he does get suspended, I at least have someone to plug and play. So as long as you have someone to plug and play just in case, which you are gonna probably have or need anyways with Derrick Henry and how things are going. So yes, I would definitely take that. I hope that helps. But yeah, anybody else drop any last minute questions? Any last minute thoughts? I gonna be wrapping this up soon. Let me just take a peek real quick. I really appreciate everybody's questions and things like that. It's been nice. I haven't even tapped into the game because of it, so I'm very grateful for everybody. So it looks like what happened. It was 14-7. Kansas City, Mahomes threw a touchdown. Pacheco rushed for 16 yards. Worthy has 2 receptions for -1 yard. What the heck? But a rush for 9 yards. Pacheco has 1 rush for 16 yards. Mahomes ran it in himself. Thornton's the leading receiver with 90 yards. Kelce's the one who caught the touchdown. And then Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown. Lawrence ran 6 times. Etienne's ran 8. And Brian Thomas finally has close to 50 yards at the half, 3 receptions, 47 yards. So he's looking all right. But the Smitty says, if I give up his team, can you help me with the trade package? Yes, for sure. Let me know. I'm gonna go look back at the comments to see what your team was. You were the super flex, and you had the trade value of Waller and Kittle, and then either Nico, DK, Jennings, Rashi Rice. Okay. And then this was a super flex. That's right. Perfect. Yeah, for sure. Smitty, drop anything there, and I got you. All right. Let's see. What are the highlights while we wait for this? What are the highlights on Thursday's game while I wait for Smitty? Anybody drop any last minute questions? This might be my last question or sets of questions before I take off today. Let's see. All right, so this upcoming week, the first game is going to be the Eagles versus the Giants. So everybody's probably going to be wondering whether or not they should start A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. And then on the Giants side of the ball, they had an awesome game this last week, and I think it was a surprise to take that L. But in that game, I think the surprise not only for the loss was Theo Johnson catching 2 touchdowns. So that's a name in some leagues where if you need a tight end and you're in a pinch this week, beyond Mason Taylor, who we were talking about, you can look into Theo Johnson from the Giants. The thing I don't like, or the things I like, right? Obviously, 6 receptions for a tight end is fantastic. 2 touchdowns is fantastic, but only 33 yards. So he's only averaging 5.5 yards a catch. Um, so if he didn't fall into the end zone in a PPR league, that still would have been 9 points. But that is just something to watch versus Mason Taylor. Why I said, him over these 2 touchdowns with Johnson is just the it was like double the yardage. It was similar amount of reception. So yeah. But have a good night, hypoglycemic. Hope to see you hope to see you next time. Hope to see you next time. Um so yeah, Theo Johnson. Everybody was hoping Wan'Dale Robinson to be able to pick up the vacated targets of uh Malik Neighbors, but you know that he only got 30 yards on his 5 receptions, so 6 yards a catch. So they're not looking downfield. Like they're not really looking downfield with the Giants anymore after it looked like almost Malik Neighbors was the only one they were really looking for downfield. They hit Darius Slayton um a little bit, but it looks like the Giants are going to take more of that run first approach, and then check them down to the middle of the field, rather than the downstream targets, which we need for the wide receiver position. So that's just something to look at for the Giants long term. Cam Scadaboo got good usage, but didn't did a lot in the passing game, but not as well in the rushing game as he did before. Um, but so this might be a defensive slugfest between these Eagles and these Giants. It might be a slower paced game. So, uh, we'll see what happens. But that game I'm envisioning to be a little slower. There's no morning games. Is there? Is there any? Hey, Smitty, let me know if you had that question. There is a morning game. Okay, so there is a morning game that's on Sunday. Okay, so that's going to be Broncos and Jets. All right, let me see. All right, let me see. Is there any whoa, what is going on? What's a Grossi raid? What is going on? Hold on a second. This is interesting. I have no idea what's going on right now, but I highly appreciate it. Who is Tom Grossi? Tom Grossi is an internet personality. A Grossi raid. Whoa, the raid is on. This is intense. I have no idea what to do. I have to look this guy up, right? If I don't know who it is, I gotta get with it. I will definitely get with it. Um, let me continue then with that thing. I think I did see your question though. So his team is Geno Smith, Lamar Jackson, Cooper Rush, Jackson Dart, JSN, Myers, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Scat, Brees, Jacobs, Warren, Laporta, Tom Grossi. All right, man. However this happened, I am appreciative of Tom Grossi for that raid. I will have to check him out because I have never seen this person before. So thank you so much, Tom Grossi, being on the road to 1 million. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. To like the stream, He's a lot of fun. I will check him out. I will check him out. TikTok is how you found him. All right, I gotta check him out. So, uh, yeah. So this guy's gonna lose Scattaboo. Um, and for you, you were so, but see, this guy has enough wide receiver depth. What just happened? I've never seen that before. That was crazy. Thanks, the Smitty. That was funny. Leave likes when you leave, motherfucker. That's a good one. That's a good one. So let me make sure I got you this Smitty because that was intense. So you're looking to make a trade, the Superflex League, and this guy's team. I was able to copy and paste it as that happened, but it looks like it was Geno Smith, Lamar Jackson, Cooper Rush, Jackson Dart, JSN, Myers, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Scattaboo, Brees Hall, Jacobs. Is that Josh Jacobs? And then Warren, Jalen Warren. And the value that we talked about you having was tight end and wide receiver. But this guy has the wide receivers, right? Like he has JSN and Garrett Wilson. So he doesn't really need wide receiver depth. If he's using Laporta and if that Warren uh is Jalen Warren, he doesn't have Tyler Warren, then he does have a week like Laporta. I don't to me is not a solid tight end, so there might be some value there where you could target that weak spot. He has Lamar Jackson. Oh, because this person has Lamar Jackson who's injured. So you're thinking something there too. Um, yeah, so maybe they would be looking for like Brock Purdy or Daniel Jones and not Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, but I don't know. I don't know if they would see that much value in that with being able to play Jackson Dart. Um, so I would say let's I think this person would be hard to target. This person, because your value was at what like that you had was wide receiver, right? Being able to give up like a Nico Collins or Rushy Rice. I don't think they would bite for that to to give you Brees Hall. If that's Jalen Warren, you might be able to target Jalen Warren here. If that's Josh Jacobs and Jalen Warren. Um, and here's my thoughts on this. Scattaboo is it's risky to try to target him because you don't know how that backfield's going to play out. You don't know how Jalen Warren's backfield's going to play out either. So, but that person will probably be willing to move off of one of those two guys more than Brees Hall or Josh Jacobs. But if you were to try to target this person, the value that you have on them is probably your tight end position because I don't think if you package Nico Collins in any way, like it would really mean anything to them with since they have JSN and Garrett Wilson. Does that make sense, Nathan? Um, or sorry, not Nathan, the Smitty. The Smitty is Jalen Warren. Yeah, so maybe they'd be willing to move off of Scattaboo or Jalen Warren, especially with Jalen Warren coming off the bye and with some uncertainty in that backfield publicly right now. I still think Jalen Warren has a solid role. Don't get me wrong, but they might be moving off those. So don't like target high, right? So yes, target Brees, right? Target Brees, and offer something like one of your tight ends, like Waller and uh Waller and maybe one of your bench quarterbacks or Waller and I'm trying to remember who. I don't remember who else was on your roster. Oh man. But yeah, like a team that you would be looking for, like imagine this same type of build, but they don't have Garrett Wilson, right? That is where then your Rashi Rice or your uh Nico Collins makes sense, right? Because then I'm playing JSN and I'm flipping between Jacoby Myers and DJ Moore, and I hate that about myself, right? Like that's the type of team that would be um, willing to do it, right? So yeah, maybe you could if you really want Brees, um, you would have to give up too much for what you have because then you would like you need to get out of the 1 and 4, right? But to get Brees, you would have to give up uh you know maybe you could go 1 for 1. Maybe you could go Brees for Kittle or something like that, and maybe he'll take that. Um, or like Brees for Waller plus Gabriel, something like that. But the type of but if you're looking for somebody who would have you're looking for somebody in a very similar situation, right? That has 3 or 4 running backs like this, right? All startable. Scadaboo startable, Brees Hall startable, Jacobs is startable, Jalen Warren is startable, right? And then maybe instead of having JSN and Garrett Wilson, they only have one top wide receiver. For this specific guy, his weakness is his tight end and his quarterback right now. So you would be packaging something there, right? Like Brees Hall straight up for Kittle, like I said, um, or if you're gonna use Waller, you might have to throw in like Waller plus uh you know Gabriel. Was that helpful or not? Hopefully that was helpful. Um, but yeah, so let me know if I could help in any way. I'll stay on for like 1 or 2 more minutes, but I'm gonna start getting going. I'm gonna start getting going. Who's my NFL team? Oh, bro, you asked the question. It's the Raiders. It's the Raiders. And we've had a tough season. We've had tough seasons. I'm from Los Angeles, so I was able to watch some Rams games and Chargers games, and I wish I could just say I'm a Rams fan or something like that, but oh man, uh, Raiders have a tough one. But you got a team. You're welcome, by the way, and hopefully I could see you again on another stream later this week. Um, we'll be here. But yeah, let me know if I could help in any other way. I'm gonna get going soon. Um, appreciate everybody who watched this. Don't know who Tom Grossi is, but that was weird. You told people Geno was going to disappoint. I know. I didn't want to rely on Geno Smith. I just hoped uh, they would somehow find a way to use Genty like Marshawn Lynch when Pete Carroll was at Seattle. But I knew that was wishful thinking. That because the defense of the Raiders sucks. um, but you're a Niner fan? Oh, in Orange County? Oh, nice, nice. I was in Orange County. I lived in Laguna Beach for a while, and I met my wife. She was from um, Mission Viejo, so nice. There at the Rams Niners game. There's always more Niners fans than Rams fans. That's what I saw when I went, and that is also what I saw on TV last Thursday too. So go Niners. I got George Kittle, but Oakland, or sorry, not Oakland. The Raiders are not gonna. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. Levi South. Yes, brother. Well, I'll see y'all on Thursday, before the game. Appreciate y'all who dropped the comments. Appreciate y'all who dropped the comments. Appreciate everybody who shared some love in the chat. If you could leave a like before we end this, very much appreciated. Subscribe for more. I'll see y'all on Thursday. All right. Have a good night. Bye bye.